Hello, Kinder. It is tendedtadpolebiz here, and before the video gets started, I just wanted to show you guys a little clip of me getting an achievement in this world. For any of you that had any doubts about whether or not this was done completely in survival, I assure you, 100% survival. If you actually want to see me getting the achievement, that was my last video, so I'll link that down below. Anyway, just wanted to give you some proof, just so that you didn't go through here with a skeptical mind. But yeah, let's get on to the video. Hello, Kinder. It is tendedtadpolebiz here. And, we're finally here. I am finally bringing you the long-awaited world tour. Now, I know for some of you that are on the channel, you may not have been looking for very long, but a lot of people that I know in real life have been asking me to make this to make this world tour, just to see what my world is about, because, for those of you who don't know, this is a very big world to me, a very important world to me. It was started on March 27th, 2014, about 5 years ago, and it's very special to me. I know when I'm going through and I'm showing it to you, which, you know, for those of you who don't care about this, you can skip ahead and see that. But for those of you who don't know, this world has been with me through a lot of tough times. Not to get too sappy, but this world was kind of like a little therapist to me, if you will. You know, when I found out my grandma died, when I found out my uncle was sick, I mean, there were a lot of things that I found out, and this world really helped me to cope through. And when things were tough, when I was upset, when I was just not having a great day, this world was a constant for me. And, you know, for those of you who stumble across this video, and it may not seem like much to you, please be a little kinder to me, because this world has been a big part of my life. And I know a lot of people like to show off that world just to show the cool stuff and everything they have. And sure, I like showing off my cool stuff too, but this world has been a big part of my life that's helped me through some things. And I just want to share it with you so that you can kind of see, you know, my little story and how I've gotten through this. So, without further ado, let me switch it around, because I doubt y'all want to see me in third person this whole time. Let's start the tour. So, when you start off in my world, you start off in this little room. Usually you'll start off in this little room. At the very least, you will start off in my little area. This is where you'll spawn in the old version, because this world did originally come from the Xbox 360 edition. You used to be able to use lava. You'd be able to, like, put it wherever you wanted, and you could figure out the limits of where people would spawn. And so I found that this is where people spawned, and I made a little spawn spot that when you join the world, nobody has the ability to break blocks, open anything, just because, you know, I don't trust people. So, yeah, so I kind of gave people slime blocks and some glowstone and carpet, just to have fun with, kind of mess around. And originally I was going to put all the rules of the world in here, but that didn't end up happening. That'll be a project for another day. So when you start off, if one of my friends or someone wants you to come in, they will open up one of these doors, and you can get in. That's the only way you will, because usually I don't give rights to people. And also, if, as we'll get to later, I have other worlds, or like other countries in the world, that I had a couple friends build off of me and go somewhere else. If one of them does want you in their area, I've made this area up here so that they can take you to this. So it's not as well made as I would like. But this is basically a spot to where any country, any whatever, can bring all their stuff up here and sort of have like a little embassy where they can take players that are going to be going to the world. So this was kind of made right above spawn, just to kind of help out the new players. The beacons used to be working, and they used to give you the effects even when you were down there. That has since messed up, and I just need to go back and fix that. But yeah. So that's what happens when you first spawn into the world. More than likely, I will be the one that's coming to pick you up. And so you'll open this, or I'll open it for you, and you'll come through here. It has kind of an end design, just because I made all this stuff back when they made it to where you could reset the end. I would fight the Ender Dragon a lot, and so I realized I could just bring this stuff here, because it glitched out and would bring me here instead of my bed. And so that's why you kind of have the end decorations. It's just a little lit up area. It looks kind of nice. You have your end chest, obviously. And then these chests just have some stuff to help you get started off. Some armor, some food, some other stuff. It's nothing huge. It's just to try and get you situated into the world. And a lot of it's just leftovers of stuff we already had. And then I'll probably lead you out this door. As you'll notice, as I get further and further along in the world, I have a lot of infrastructure. So there are roads that go pretty much anywhere that you would want to go within the world. Over here, I tried to put a farm at one point. That didn't really pan out, But, you know, I have a lot of projects that I'll get to. Okay, let's see if we can... That didn't work. Let's fly up here. So, I have a little tower that overlooks this little thing. The tower's not terribly important. But, right here we have our Gladiator arena. Now, we built this just because, as we'll get to later, I have a baseball area over there. And I thought, hey, why don't we have another litter arena? This one with actual spectators in mind. So, this one has a lot of seats to it that anybody can come and watch the fights that go down. Now, the two types that we usually have in the world are we have prisoners that come in, that they can fight for their freedom. Now, you only become a prisoner if you griefed or killed people or did something that you are not allowed to do on the server. So, don't think we're just throwing people in there to do that. But, yeah, if we get enough of them, which we've had happen once, I will let them come in here and duel. And whoever wins... You know, I'll give them a second chance at the world, because, you know, I believe in second chances. We also have, if people are just fighting, or if they want to fight for fun, we'll have it to where a couple of guys will go in. Here, I'll give you a little behind the scenes. Back here, we have a shulker box. It used to be a chest, and then I thought I was real fancy putting a shulker box. You can put all your stuff in there. We'll give you iron armor and an iron sword, and they just come in here, and they'll fight, and whoever wins, you know, we bet on it, stuff like that. Nothing major, just some, ooh, I'm gonna run away from them. Just some fun that we can have to kind of spruce it up. Because when you have a world this old, it can get boring from time to time. These right here are just the materials that we used to, not to build it, but when we were breaking down the area, like clearing it all out, that's the stuff that came out of it. And if you come over here, you will see this nice fence. I mentioned the prison before. If you go to the prison, now we don't have a lot of them in here. However, it's very well protected. I built this nice little fence around it. And you will notice it's kind of hard to see because it's dark, but there's a dark oak forest all throughout. That is completely artificial. At the time, it looked just like this. It was a big old plains area, because like I said, this is a very old world. So that didn't exist at the time. But I figured if I'm going to have a prison, I may as well make it as heavily guarded as I can. So, now you will also notice back here, the gate does not continue. That is because at the time when I made this in the Xbox 360, this right there was the world limit, so you couldn't really get out. But the way our prison works is, you will come in, if you are found guilty at our government building, you will be sent here through the rail system, you'll come out here, and we'll have a guard escort you over here. And you'll come on over this way, and usually we have, like, everybody in the server that we can, just to make this as streamlined as process. It doesn't happen much, honestly, because people are usually pretty good. We pull that old lever there, which opens up our little gateway. And I'll show you in a moment, this just goes back up to close it. And then, oh no! I didn't close it the last time I was in here. Well, there you can see the other gate that's usually up. And we don't have many prisoners, but if you do break some of the rules of the world, we will have a little court hearing for you. And if you're found guilty, you can come in here, drop all your stuff in here, as you can see somebody has, I don't know who. And then we break the key, and usually we don't like to give permanent sentences. If you did something really bad or you griefed kind of minor, that hurt. Or if you grief kind of minor, we usually throw you in here for like a day, like a Minecraft day. Usually we prefer to do fines or things like that, more minimum stuff, because I don't like throwing people in here. Now, if you are absolutely horrible, we do have an execution chamber. We have never used it. But, this is the I pulled that a little too early. What happens is, you'll come in here, we have a list of rules, they can say a final goodbye, they go on in there, and then we pull this lever, and they fall out, and they fall all the way to the bottom, where we have hoppers that'll get all their things. Again, we don't use this prison very often, it's more for show, just because, stop that. Just because, you know, for looks, it looks kind of nice. We have, I'll show you in here. We have a little warden's office over here. One of my friends is the warden, and he's kind of been upkeeping this. He used to have some armor stands in here, but now it's kind of bare bones. Hello, little doggy. And we've had a couple of meetings in here if we have some rowdy prisoners, or if he has some things he wants to do. It's really not that much. It was meant to be like a faraway place that we don't use very often. And I'll also show you. I'll close the gate. Oh, whoops, that was the wrong gate. Well, you can see out there, that's what it looks like when the gate is closed. We usually like to close this gate so that we have, I am terrible at this. So that we have two lines of defense, a gate out there and a gate right here, to where usually we'll also take their privileges away so they can't really get out. But yeah, that's the prison. So here, I'm going to go close off this gate so that no prisoners can get out. And probably for a future video, I would love to finish off this gate just because coming over here, it does look kind of silly having the the gate only go halfway around. And then right by the prison, there's nothing. So maybe that's something for a future video. Well, I really flubbed that up. Now, if we head on back to Civilization, because again, when this was on 360, this was just the corner of the map. If we head on out this way, I pointed to it earlier, but over here we have the very large baseball stadium. Now, this was probably the biggest single project I have ever embarked upon, or at least time-wise. This right here took about 2 months to make, and I did it over the course of, like, the better part of a summer. It's all flat now, but if you see that hill right there, this one was even taller than that. It was a very large hill, and I decided that would be a great place. I flattened the whole thing, and then I don't think hardened clay was a thing at the time, or if it was, it just wasn't readily available. So I made the whole thing out of wool, and it is actually playable. So over here we have the 2 dugouts. Now, I'm not going to pull anything out of it, but it basically just has uniforms, and it has some flame bows, because that's the way this works. Now, these animals may be difficult to do it in, but you look at the umpire right there, the pitcher will, and he fires it over there, and I don't know if this will work because I have an infinity bow. Okay, it does. Whoever the person is batting, I'm a lefty, so I'll stand on this side. They'd pick up that arrow, and they have 2 seconds to shoot it out into the outfield, and then they run the bases, and the fielders have to try and get it in and shoot it at them. And if they do, the person's out. If they don't, it's a run. Because, you know what? Why would we stop? But, yeah. We've only played it a handful of times. I love baseball. I'm from St. Louis, so I'm a huge Cardinals fan. So, I don't know. Over the summer, I was watching the games, getting real hyped about it. So I decided to make this. It looks real nice. I'm a big fan of it. You may not be, but that probably took the longest amount of time of any single build. But if we head on this way, you will quickly notice I got bored, and so I blew up a giant hole. Don't at me. Over here, I'll start this way. I showed you the spawn area over that way. This right here used to be the original spawn. And somehow in transferring the worlds, the spawn moved. So when I first spawned into this world, I spawned like right about here. And so I decided I wanted to make a little spot so that people, when they join the world, they would have somewhere to stay. And this was the spawn for quite some time, and then at some point it moved over there. So I just have, kind of like I had at the other one, I had just some basic things so that you could get stuff when you first spawned into the world. Nothing major, it was just like, it was a small little place where you could come. At some point they would spawn over there, so I made a bridge so that they could come on over. But it kind of gives you a good little look at where we were kind of at the beginning. There isn't much here because I kind of started here, and we have since moved on. But I've since removed it, but I had a little rail system that would take you straight to my town. But moving on, we have right here, this is the house of one of my friends. I played with him for a while. I played a lot of GTA with him. I haven't talked to him in quite a while. But we made this house for him because it's so close to spawn. It has been griefed a lot of times, so that's why the window ceases to exist right there. It's a pretty basic house, pretty small. I was proud of it because I helped him build it, and I made this world when I was very bad at Minecraft, so I was real proud of this. This was a design, you know, I low-key looked up how to build it, and I was just proud of it, so I really like it, and it holds a special place in my heart. Over here, we have a carrot farm. As we'll get to when I get to my actual town, I love farms, and so I thought may as well build one, especially when this was spawn. I was very proud of having one very close to spawn. But yeah, this is a little house that I made. I'm probably going to tear it down just because every so often I just have a lot of resources on me and decide I want to start building, and honestly doesn't look that great. But if we head over here, you'll see this is the subway. Now, it doesn't really look like it now because of how subways look, but at the time when I looked up what like a Subway restaurant looked like, it came up fairly similar to this. Maybe the colors were a little different, but like this general shape. So I tried to recreate that, make it like a pun, so you know, Subway the restaurant for subway station. Nobody's understood it, so I just don't talk about that much. But this took me probably about a week to build. I built a rail system that went all the way to, and I'll show you a little bit of it. I don't want to ride it just yet because I want to take you over to everywhere we are. But it took me about a week to mine out. This goes, I believe, over 1,000 meters, so you will get, like, the achievement if you ride just this rail. And, I mean, yeah, there's a lot to it. And it took quite a while, and then this one over, so this one on the left right now, which is on the right when you're riding it, this one right here, this takes you all the way to my castle, and this one takes you to, I call it Grant Central Station, because my name's Grant, and it's a play on words with, like, Grand Central Station. I know it's dumb, I just thought it was real clever. So, if you want to get to the city, it'll take you here, and then when I want to go home, this will take me, oh, bye, Maniac, I'll miss you. But if I'm trying to get home, this will take me there, but yeah. That's the way we get everywhere in the city. I don't take it when I'm giving tours, just because, obviously, I gotta show everything off. So I showed you the baseball field. Now we can head over this way. This right here is probably one of the newest parts to my world, just because I had a little island here that I wasn't sure what to do with, so I started adding some things to it. And it's turned into its own little, like, industrial district, that I'd like to call it that, at least. So over here we have, like, this is like the hotel slash the meeting area. It just has some basic rooms. It doesn't actually have beds or anything. It's pretty empty. You'll notice with a lot of my builds, I'm terrible at decorating. It's basically empty, but if somebody wanted to come out here to do business, I figured they could stay in a building like this. I don't know. I like the design of it. I think it looks real good. This right here was supposed to be a secondary subway that would take people to other places, but then again, with how close it is over there, I don't know how useful it would be. I never actually connected it anywhere, so maybe I'll repurpose this building. Over here, we just have a pavilion that I made. Yeah, I don't know. I had them. You'll notice a lot. I have materials to build things. I build them, and I don't know what to do with them. But yeah, I figured you could do like a farmer's market type thing. Although that doesn't entirely vibe with the industrial theme, so maybe I'll turn it into a factory. I'm not entirely sure. And over here we have just some shops. They all look the exact same. They're pretty hollowed out. There's just a room upstairs, something like this. We also have a mall, so nobody's really come here to open up their own little business. But one day I hope to do that. And over here, I'm not even going to show you that. That's one of my friend's houses that I am not a fan of. He came over here while I was building this and said he wanted to build a house away from everybody else. And I said go for it, and then he did a terrible job. So, sorry, Too Cool, I don't like your house. But yeah, I told you I have roads, although it's not really fun to walk this distance, so I'm just going to fly on over here. As you can see, we have... this is actually really recent, this beacon. As you can see right here, this is still, like, growing grass. I'm trying to clear out this entire area, because this right here is our suburb area. As you can see, they're just, like, a bunch of houses. Basically, if somebody joins the world, I clear out this entire area, and I build these plots of land that you can see right here, and people can just put a house on it, and it's pretty small, and, like, we have a currency system in the world, and this is really cheap to build here. There's nothing huge to it. As you can see, it's a bunch of fairly small houses that are all about the same size, and, yeah. I'm all about order, so I like planning things before they actually happen, because nothing turns out worse than having a bunch of houses sprawled real far away where you can't really make a community. So I figured, I'd make the land and they could come to it. Over here we have, this is my mansion. Now, I don't know why, but I decided when I was making this, I wanted to have the most expensive house on the entire block. So I made, it's German, der Falkenkram. It means the Falcon's Nest. I think it's Falkenkram, not Falkenkam, isn't it? Yep, Falkenkam, I'm stupid. It's Falkenkam, which means the Falcon's Nest. Like I pointed out with the other thing, I'm terrible at decorating, so I've done a little bit here and there. Like, back here, I made the little pool area with its own little, diving board that you could jump in and have a little fun out there. Also, when I made this, that was the world border, so that mountain didn't exist. This was just a dock into, like, the oblivion. All you would see out this way was water. So I thought it was real clever. It now has an odd view, but you know what? We take what we can get. And, yeah, this has got 4 floors, if you count the attic. Nothing up here. I wanted to add some additional rooms and add like a kitchen or like a little hangout area over there. Obviously, I haven't done that yet. What I have done is I made my own little room, the king's quarters, where I could come in here, you know, take the night off, just sleep. Oh, I can't sleep in a bed right now, but I'd have a bed here I could stay. Yeah, just a fun little place. It was low-key to show my dominance over the townspeople by having the biggest house possible on this plot of land, so I thought it was real nice. Over here we have, I'll show you it very briefly because it's almost not even started. Rather recently, I started adding a little community center here in the middle. It's got walls to protect it from mobs, but as you can see, it doesn't do that. I figured we'd just have some community things, like a farm that people could use. I still need to fill this side out. As well as all the chests I took from where are the chests? The chests are over there. All the chests I took from clearing stuff out, I just have here. And then over here, we have a subway, another subway system that connects. It has the potential to connect to the subway over there, although it doesn't yet. And it also connects to Grant Central Station. So, yeah, it's just a little way that we can connect to our little community without having to, you know, just take up someone's house. This is just a big old spot. I plan to expand the suburbs. As you can see, it's pretty desolate. It still needs a lot of breaking. So, yeah, I just like to plan for the future. So I built this, and, you know, the little town will be built around it. Over here, I guess I should probably address it. I'm not gonna lie, if you don't like this world has never been in creative, but I do duplicate, so, if you judge me for that, stop that. If you judge me for that, I'm sorry. This world is really old, and at first it started, you know, I was just missing some stuff, and I figured I ought to, you know, certain saplings I only had one of, like a dark oak, I only had one sapling. And I decided I wanted to expand it a bunch, so I used that to make it. It has since kind of changed, so I'm sorry if you don't like duplication. I do that in this world, and I'll be perfectly honest. Right here we have, this is like the only non-house in this entire area. We have the church. We built this, I just think it's like such a lovely little place that we can go. We kind of built it on a whim because I had a friend who had not played in a very long time. And we decided as a joke to tell him, you know, you're dead, we're going to host a funeral for you. So we have our little taco cat, the donkey, and he was our pallbearer. We filled him up with bones, and then we all came up here and gave a little eulogy to our friend. And we took his corpse and put it in the graveyard. Oddly enough, we invited him to his own funeral, and he never showed up. So, yeah, he has since come back and he's played on it a bit more, so I guess there's kind of a happy ending to it. Now we are heading into, what I showed you before was kind of like, it wasn't chronologically the first stuff, it was just the closest stuff to spawn. Chronologically, this building right here, this is my house, this is the first building that was ever made on this world. And as you can see, it's kind of a historical site now because I live here. You know, I live somewhere else now, I live in my castle. But, you know, I made this house, at a time, I expanded it out back that way. But I hated the look of that, so I recreated my old house. It was pretty small, there wasn't much to it. The basement is really where I did a lot. You know, I had some chests up there, but my main chest stuff was, like, down here. I've since filled it with all my CDs and all my random stuff. And, this used to be snow, but I filled it with quartz now because it looks nicer. I had a friend over here who, for whatever reason, would just constantly make lag machines in his basement to make me mad. And so I built this little doorway so that I could always come in and see what he's doing. He hasn't played on the server in a bit. He used to have a bunch of stuff up here, but some people came in and they kind of griefed his house and stole everything. So, yeah, it's kind of bare bones from what it once was. His basement never had anything. He would just make lag machines to annoy me. This also hooks up to the mine. There's nothing special about it. I mean, I can go down and show you. There's nothing all that special about the mine, and I'll get to that room you just saw in a moment. This was just my first mine that I had. I thought it was neat putting doors and wood just to sort of make it more hospitable. You know, I just like fancier mines. There's nothing special. It just goes on forever in like every direction. And I also had a minecart system that would take me up and down. Nothing too special. Over here we had... I wasn't fancy enough to actually make, like, a mob grinder, like a full-on, or an XP farm or anything like that. So I built this little room. You know, it gave me mushrooms, but it was also used to just kill a bunch of mobs, like slimes and stuff. I have since made an XP farm, so this has been kind of neglected. As you can see, we took most of the stuff out of the chest that we had there anyway. But, yeah. Now, this room right here is part of my basement, but it actually starts up here. So I showed you the basement that I first had, and at the time when I had this, people would always come down here and, like, help themselves to my stuff, because I had stuff in here that I wanted to, fix up at my anvil, and then I had a bunch of stuff in these chests, so people would always come and try and rob it. So I thought I was real sneaky, because this was I used to have a crafting table here just normally, and so I added a little piston, even though I left the lever there, and I never closed the thing. I thought I was being sneaky. So if we head down here, I also made this as its own little, like, doomsday bunker, because this was, like, one of the first times I got grief, so I figured, hey, I ought to have some stuff to sustain myself. So I made a little carrot farm because I love carrots. I also have this, like, semi-auto melon farm, which I guess I'll pick all that up because I hate wasting things. At the time, this was a fully automatic sugarcane farm, but through updating it, it's kind of messed it up, so I just added a button, and now I can do it that way. It's not too bad. I don't need that much, and it's already filled up, so it works out just fine. I used to have a chicken in here. He would drop all his eggs, and it worked out pretty well until he died, so over here we have an automatic cactus farm. This is one of the things I love because I made this years ago. This must have been like a year into the world I made this thing, and for whatever reason they never updated it so that this, you know, all my other farms get broken every couple of updates. This one has always worked, and it's real simplistic, so I enjoy that. Heading on down here, we had a bunch of lava. And so I decided it was kind of neat to make it part of the, that's why it's got this little curve to it. That's why I made it part of the little walkway. I think it's neat. Over here we have, I'm not going to take the railway yet. That'll be one of the last things I show you. But over there we have the XP farm. I'll get to that in later. But this was just, at the time, it was pretty far away. It didn't have anything near it, so I decided to just make a railway to it, and it looks pretty nice. And then I showed you the chest area I had up here. This was my first ever full-on chest room. Now, I built this completely based on stuff I saw. Usually, a lot of the houses I have, I look things up. This, I just built, free-handed it. I love it. And then I added these pillars later. It's really simplistic, and it's, you know, there's no, you can look behind it. There's no redstone or anything to it. It's just a bunch of chests. I have emptied most of it out. To go take it to my new house, but I built this as, this entire thing was meant to be like a bunker in case I got attacked, because I got the first grief on my friend's house that I showed you, and I never wanted to have to deal with that again, so I went underground. And I made my first ever real enchanting table, and you can see I have a lot of books and stuff here. And then here we have like our own little war room, where we probably used it twice, where I talked to like 2 of my friends about what we do if we ever get griefed. I was paranoid, I'll be perfectly honest. And then obviously the beds, nothing special about that. And then if you come up here, like I said, self-sustaining, we have my little animal farm, nothing special to it. Pretty basic. Yeah, I was very worried about people coming and killing all my animals that I had above ground, so I decided I took them all in a very painstaking process underground. And so, yeah, that's what we got here. We have all my wolves, and as you can see, they're all white now, because if you look at this, all of their collars used to correlate with this. So we had yellow for Otto, orange for Calvin, all the way down. And then a little prankster came through and got rid of that, and I've just been too lazy to re-dye them. So for now, they've all got white leashes. I might change that later, but I've kind of ignored them, and I feel bad about it. Here we just have all the chests of the stuff to keep them. Nothing special about that. And let's head back. This is also like pretty circular, so that's what's nice about it. If I was ever getting chased, I could sort of run away. Again, very paranoid. This right here was actually a full-on like cave system. I wasn't planning on doing anything here, but I found the cave and I figured I may as well do something with it. As you can see, the cave sort of continues on there. This used to be like a little armory, and I had some chests and stuff. I have since moved it to my castle, so there's not much there. I was very proud of this. I have a little American flag because, like I said, I'm from St. Louis. I love this. This I didn't look up. Anything I didn't have to look up a video on how to do, I was very proud of. So this just looks beautiful to me. Over here is like the continuation of the cave system. Actually, I'll go in there. I have a little... We used to fight the Wither in here. As you can see, the Wither won quite a few times. So I've kind of forgot about this because I have all the beacons I really need. And there's no real use for it. We used to sleep in here, keep our stuff in there. Nothing special going on. And then you come in through here. I have my little potion room where I'm terrible at potions, so I don't make potions very often. But if I ever wanted to, I have all the things I could ever need. And now let's head back out. So that's basically my basement in my house. That's the only real thing that we have in this area. It's the only real thing we have in this area. Because I'm like the only one who ever really lived here. I had a couple of friends who lived here, but they since moved on to the city that we'll get to in a moment. I had this house, except it got griefed so many times. I gave it to like 4 or 5 people, and they all ruined it, so I figured Simon, my cat, will never ruin this house. So I gave it to my cat instead, and he ran away, so I don't think he liked it either. We also built this lighthouse. I think this was the second building I ever had. I built this one first, and then... Yeah, I thought it was neat to build a lighthouse. I put a beacon in. The first beacon I ever got went in there. I thought it was neat. In hindsight, it doesn't look that great, so I don't really care about it too much. And we attached the whole thing over to this. It was a tiny island. We have since expanded it a bit. But this used to be called Unfinished Island. And you can't see it now because all of the unfinished... Well, except for a few of them over there. Most of the unfinished projects I tore down because I finally got sick of them. So right here we had a villager breeder. So it used to be based on the old system where it was all doors that were going all the way across. And I just had it like sky high. It was a big old tower. And then they changed it on me. And so now it's based on beds. So we have 2 lowly villagers that live in here. I've been meaning to get more, but yeah, I did this fairly recently because I just didn't have any villagers and I figured why not. Over here, we have, you used to be, I don't know if it was a glitch or what, but you used to be able to trade with villagers constantly and just get like an unlimited supply of stuff. And so I just have tons and tons of stuff that I got from all the villagers, mostly tools, and that's how I fill up everything over there. But yeah, I also have a friend who made me a nice little Pokeball because I'm a big old fan of Pokemon, so I enjoyed this. This, at a time, this was the only finished project on this entire island. Is that Simon? Are you Simon? No, that's what my cat looks like, Simon. But he ran away. This was the old villager breeder. I really need to get rid of it. Oh, I didn't know there was one trapped down there. Yeah, it used to be a system where they'd like feed and then a baby would fall through here. And we had one, and they were the only one that survived, so really it's kind of sad. I've been meaning to get rid of this. You can start to see my city in the background. We'll get to that in a moment. This right here was just a basic AFK fishing farm. That's how I got. If you see all my stuff, I have mending on everything. Obviously, when I started the world, mending wasn't a thing. So it was a I mean, you can see how much stuff I picked up. It was a painstaking process to get mending on this world. Here, I kind of neglected the roads. As I said, unfinished island. So that's kind of a pattern that we've got going on here. We also have a dock over there. Did I actually? Wow. That is, wow. I feel like a real goofer for that. I'll fix that later if it's messed up. But yeah, now we're sort of heading into, so this is what we call, like, old Tadpolea. Oh, I also built another beacon, or I built a, like, little pond around this beacon. I think it looks nice. They changed the water, so now it looks so ugly. But, it used to look pretty nice. I also loved the way, that the wells in all of the, little towns that you would have, like the villager towns. I thought they looked nice, so I built my own. And here we have another house of my friend, but you probably don't care about those because you got a glimpse of the city. So we have, like, my little farming house, and the last thing I'll show you before we head over there is, this is my farm. I finished this entire farm before I finished half the houses. I absolutely love farming. And so, basically everything, except for beetroot, which they added after the fact, everything that I could make a farm of at the time, I did. And going through here, I mean, you could feed the entire server for a week in real life with this farm. It is so overkill, but it's what allows me to have every chest in that farmhouse completely filled. And, yeah. But now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this. We have the city. So this over here we call, like, Old Tadpolea. And then this is what we call New Tadpolea. Real original, I know. So the first thing that ever came about here was, this here pyramid. I know it's not too fancy. I added the gold after the fact, just because I thought it was a nice touch. But I made it to sort of look like an actual tomb, like a pyramid in Egypt. It was, at the time, it didn't have all those crappy tools in them, but it looked like an actual tomb. I then let people live in here, and they trashed it. This right here was just extra stuff that we had. And then the next building I made was my castle. Now, from the outside, it looks kind of neat. I have beacons in all four corners, but I'm terrible at decorating, so I literally only put a throne in here. But since building the city around it, I honestly love all of the towers that fit the sky. Well, you can't really see it, but the hospital's over there. I like all of the towers that kind of fill up the skyline. It's a great thing when I'm coming in here, because I now live in here, as you can see, because we have my chest room. I probably ought to clean this stuff up. In here, we just have, like I showed you my old chest room. This one takes a lot of stuff from that and just expands it. I have furnaces and everything I could need at every single end of all of them, and just walls to walls of chest. So over here, we basically have food and tools. We have stone, sand, we have wood, random stuff, and then nether stuff mainly over this side. This is completely random, except for this is gravel. Over here, this is a wall of mob loot, and then this is dirt, and that's cobblestone. So it's very meticulous. Probably like once a month I have to go through and actually, like, so, because you can see a lot of the, oh, I guess that one's not so much. A lot of these are just random stuff that I have in the world, and I have to go through and sort it all over again. Right here we have my little guards. That chainmail suit took me absolutely forever to get. I've been playing on this world for 5 years, and it was about a month ago that I finally got the helmet, from killing some stuff, by killing a skeleton, I believe, in my skeleton farm. But yeah, before I go down there, over there I have my own little room, and then in there we have my horse, Zeus. I have another, I guess I kind of skipped over it, but I have another, little stable where I keep my horses over by my house. That's pretty new, and it's kind of boring, so we can skip it. Down here we have, let's see if I die. No, I hit the slime block. Okay, good. Slime blocks used to work pretty well, and so that's why they're all over the place. But down here, this is kind of separate from my mine. You can see that little sliver right there is where my actual mine is, and that's why I had to, like, build this back up. Down here we have, for a little project, I decided I wanted to mine out, like, the entirety of the basement of the world. So in the old Xbox 360 edition, that was where the wall of that side was. I don't know that that was the edge of the world, but on this side, you can't really see it unless I run over there. I mean, you can kind of start to see how it, like, heads out that way a little bit more. It used to go to the edge. Yeah, you can kind of see it now. It used to go to the edge that way and then wrap around. This place is just ginormous. It doesn't necessarily look so much so because it's so short, even though it's, like, I think 4 or 5 blocks tall. It just feels really short. But this spans a good portion of the original Xbox 360 sized world, and so it was kind of fun to screw around with my friends who would be looking on a map and be like, where are you? And I would be everywhere. But this right here used to be what a rail duplicator looked like, because again, I use a ton of duplication glitches, and I have rail stuff everywhere. It basically is just a lag machine now, so I don't want to turn it on again. But it would flip, rails would come in here, and then I had this little machine. Well, not machine, but I had this little railway that would take all of the rails and just shove them in these chests. It was such a long process. I was terrible at redstone, so this to me was the fanciest thing ever. It would have like a hopper that would go down here, move them up there, and then 2 separate systems with another that would take them all through. Not too crazy, but I was a fan of it. Ah, damn Enderman everywhere. In here is my slime farm. It doesn't work anymore because since I moved it to Bedrock Edition, this is no longer a slime chunk. So it used to be that I would be able to stand there and just punch them, but they would come down through, I have a big old room with just platforms real high up here. They would come down here. The big ones would get hit by the lava, become small, and then they'd fall over there to the bottom. It has since stopped working, but I got a ton of slime out of it, so it was real nifty. Here, I'll go show you the inside of it. If you do end up having a slime chunk on your world, this probably still works. You just make these platforms on the chunk. Like, nothing special, just a platform. You want to make sure to light it up, because the slimes can still spawn in lit up chunks, whereas other mobs will not. And then it's just like a flat platform. They would spawn on here, they'd fall off the edge, and then they'd get pushed down into that little thing I showed you down there. I looked up a video for it, so if you're really interested, I would say looking up a slime farm, because I don't know who made it, but it was a very, very good video that I watched. But, yeah. I had to eat, too. I hate getting hungry, so I try not to let it happen too much. But, yeah, there's nothing much to here. I just flattened out the entire basement, and I've been meaning to do more to it, just because, obviously, I didn't finish, because there's a ton of lava over there that I just didn't want to deal with, but who knows, I might return to that at some point. And, yeah. Now, let's head on back up. And I kind of previewed the city a little bit, and I showed you some of the towers. But I'll give you a little flyover now when we get up here. Because I don't think I really want to go in depth right now. Just because I counted, last count, I had about 45, and then I've built at least 5 since. So I want to say there's about 50 towers in total throughout the city. So I'll just do a nice little flyover. Let's get a little bit higher. Yeah, just towers upon towers upon towers, as far as the eye can see. This one right here, I'll do a little circle around. This one right here, that's a little shorter at the base part here. This is what I told you about Grant Central Station, where all of the rails kind of meet up to. So if at any point you want to get to the city, this will bring you to the southernmost point. I'll give you a little look in. That right there is one of the rails that goes to one of my friend's countries. But this is where all of the rails throughout the world that are attached to the city lead to. And then let's head back up. If you want, I can make another video to show you every one of these towers. I just figured that would take too long for this. And this video is going to be long enough. So, yeah, you can kind of get a nice little fly-through. I do fly through here from time to time. Just get a little look-see. This right here is my tallest tower, WCPM tower, because I have a little clan called WCPM. You know, sometimes I just stand up here, get a good old look at all my towers. You know, it feels like Gotham City when I'm crouched up here. That out there, I'm not going to go over there because there's not too much over there, but that tower right there, that one is built, when I said that I had friends that wanted to venture out and make their own countries, they decided one would go there, one would go over there. You can't really see it, but there's a river that goes between that building that separated them, so I thought it'd be funny to make a tower spanning the two countries. Yeah, it's just a little cutesy. Down here, I will show you. I mentioned the hospital. The hospital was by far the biggest building that I've built. This thing is massive. Like, you see the castle. The castle is 50 by 50. This is, I think, like 75 by 75. It's incredibly large. So, yeah, we go in here. Basically, only the first floor is decorated, and even then you can see it's not that well decorated. But I tried to make a little central area that you could look on through from all the floors down here. You have a nice little water fountain. In here you have some waiting rooms and a nice little gift shop, even though we haven't supplied the gift shop with anything. Over here you have one of the little doctor's offices. And you have, what do we have here? Ooh, you're bad. We have, this is like the emergency department. Just some rooms in here. Nothing too crazy. I'm not that great at even decorating, so the fact that I have rooms here is honestly kind of amazing to me. Okay, you guys are getting a little too close for comfort. Obviously, I need to light this. Oh, wow. I need to light this place up a little bit better, but, yeah. Yeah, so not much to that. I think there's a cafeteria over there. Yeah, a little cafeteria that I built. But as I mentioned, I've done almost nothing. So, like, the second floor, I don't even have the room set up. So, that's a project for another day. Another one to add to ye old list. But, what next? I think I'll show you now. I'll show you the, I showed you the little how many times can I say that word? I showed you the, suburbs that I had already. And that one was kind of neat, but I had a lot of friends who were telling me how they didn't want to have to build on a little plot that I had pre-assembled, just because it kind of limited the space that you got to build on. So over here, I basically just made a main road, and I let people build wherever they want. It's its own little gated community, and it'll cost you a little bit more to live here, because I do clear out these areas, and then I sell the plots, just because, like, it takes a lot of time to clear them. And we have an economy in the world, like I mentioned before, and so that's kind of how it runs based on property. So we have a few people that have moved in here, built some houses. That right there, when I first built it, I wanted to make it a full-on tower like you saw over there. But that didn't span out very well because my friends who wanted to build houses said, if you build another tower, we're going to blow it up because we're sick of them. So I built a little, I kind of capped it off, and I was going to put a roof on, but then I got lazy. I also just love the snowy I don't know why that went away. I love the snowy biome, and so I love the idea of just having snow falling around the houses that we have. Oh, there, you can see it here. So we all just kind of made like a dark tone house with spruce and dark oak and stuff like that. And obviously not all of them have finished. There's some works in progresses, but this is a real peaceful place to live just because a lot of the griefing that happens over there. And this bridge is super long, and most people don't want to have to run across it. So they don't bother coming over here to grief for the most part. And, you know, knock on wood, we haven't had anybody grief there yet. So this one is kind of like its own little safe gated community. Oh, and coming back, I forgot to mention to you guys. I told you when I was at the prison, you know, however long ago, that we have our own little government building. This right here, it's a tiny, tiny, tiny island. So I just built a couple of things on it. I have the bank over here, which is pretty basic. Basic idea is you throw diamonds over here, they give you your receipt or whatever back, and then up there we have like the vault where we keep all the diamonds, safely secured by that little doggo in there that would protect anything and wouldn't let anybody bad in. Ow! Man, you really like attacking me. And then over here we have, it's called the Nonagon, because it's a 9-sided building. It's kind of like the Pentagon's 5. This one's 9. Technically, it's 10. However, on this backside over here, it's like rounded off, so I don't count it as a side. Yeah. But right here is a good place to start. These are the holding cells. So kind of like the prison I showed you earlier, if you're in the city and you commit a crime, you come in here to one of these holding cells. And there's not much to do in here because you're not supposed to be in here for very long. But we'll lock you in here until we have enough people to hold a trial, because we believe in fair trials in here. And so you'll come in here. This is where we have our little courthouse. And so you'll come in here. Usually if I'm not part of it, since I am like the king of the world, I will preside over the cases. If I am involved, I'll let somebody else do it. But we have the prosecution and the defense. We'll hear a case, and then usually we'll decide... Unless it's something huge like griefing, we usually decide it by like a fine or something. You know, if you killed somebody, you got to give them a diamond. Something small like that. Just to make things fair and so that we don't have rampant crime going anywhere. That was the main reason for building the Nonagon, because we had too many people doing bad things and we figured, hey, we'll give them a fair trial in our world. Up here, I have my own little office that I can come to. If anybody has some grievances they want to give me, they can come say to me. I had a friend who wanted a job because he couldn't afford to pay for one of the plots of land that I built, so I decided, you know what, you can be my little clerk. And so he made his own little desk, and for like a couple of days he would just come over, and if people wanted to talk to me, he would talk to them, and then they come to me, so that was fun. Over here we have, it's just like a little balcony because I didn't want to make too much space. Man, you are really coming after me. I made my own little balcony out here. It gives me a great view of the city, and I really like it. You know, something pretty. And then up there, I'll fly up there real quick. At first, it looks like a UFO, and that was the plan initially when I made this. I wanted to make a UFO up here just because I'd never done anything like it, and I wanted something like looming over the city. It gives you an incredible view. Initially, after I decided I didn't want to make a UFO, I was going to make a house up here, but it ended up turning into like its own little temple thing instead. And I don't know why, but we have a beacon down there that runs through the top of this. but it does not want to go through, and it doesn't want to show up here. So, yeah, it's just a nice little house. It's a quaint place. Most people can't get to it because you need both elytra as well as a ton of firework rockets to get up here. I say a ton, but it's like 3. But most people can't get that in the first place, so it's a pretty safe, secure place that I have some people that'll come up here from time to time just to sort of chill out. So yeah, it's pretty nice. Down here we have... I thought it looked like a serpent. I have since been told I made an onyx statue, like the Pokemon Onyx. I had a plot here that I was just bored of building towers, so I made a nice little sculpture of like a serpent going through the ground with some lava. I thought it was real cute. My friends make fun of me because they think it looks stupid. And over here, I mentioned before that we have a mall. We had, mind you, like I said at the time, this was the edge of the world, like right where the ice ends, even before that. This was the edge of the world, and we found this cute little ravine down here, and we decided, rather than just getting rid of it, we would keep it and do something with it. So we decided to turn it into its own little mall. So there's not much to it. I've made like a little ground area. This leads into a mine shaft, which I kind of wanted to make like an escape room type thing in there, but haven't done that yet. In here we have like a little map shop, and then this was the first shop that was over here. It's called the block shop. I made it because I started to fill up my the big chest room in the castle, and I figured, you know what, if I have any extra space. Sorry for the cut here, but when I went behind the desk to kind of get a view of the shop, it turns out somebody had written something very inappropriate on the sign there, so I decided to cut, and yeah, sorry about that. That I'm gonna have to blur that out. Yikes. Yeah, in here we have... Basically, if I have any extra blocks that I just want to throw in here, I'll just throw them on in. And people are making a build or something and they need some extra cobblestone or what have you, they can come buy it from me. And then over here we have a suicide booth. I made this because I watched like an episode of Futurama, and I believe the first one, that was how he and like Bender met. So it used to work. Redstone has since changed. So basically this goes back, you walk in, there's a delayed timer, it opens that, you fall down. It works like the execution chamber. There's hoppers at the bottom. I can get your stuff. Yeah, real fun. So obviously this is also a work in progress. A lot of things. If they're very large builds, I'll start them and hope other people will join me. And rarely do they, so I end up making a lot of this on my own. But yeah, that's basically it for the city. If you'd like another video, please let me know down below. Because, I don't know, there's a lot of towers. All of them have their own little story behind them. But I figure for something like this, you guys don't necessarily want to see that. So now I will move on. So we had all these towers where, and I showed you the WCPM tower, where all of my friends in my clan would meet. But we decided, now that the city is too big, we wanted our own little spot to congregate. So we created, let's see if I can do the jump right. We created our own mansion. This thing pales in comparison to anything else I have ever built, like any single project. This is just a giant mansion. I don't know if you can see the absolute scale of it. Like, this was its own little island, and we put this house on it. So far, this is also the guest house, which is bigger than even my own mansion. These are just huge. So, it used to be that you could swim up here, although I keep messing it up. So you come in here, you have the little lobby, and then almost nothing everywhere. We're gonna make a little basement at some point, but we have the main living area, like the main little congregating area with a giant wall. That little lake inside of the island is going to be our own pool if we want to spend it. If somebody comes over that's not part of our little clan that doesn't have their own room, we'll let them stay in the guest house. This is also kind of like the little section that attaches to the pool. I was going to make a staircase down there, although I got lazy, and I didn't actually do that. So, it's pretty bare bones at this point. It was a huge project that I started, and I'll head up here, because the plan for this is when people come on, all of the members of WCPM, they can each have their own floor, make it kind of how they want. It's supposed to be its own little area where we can get away from all the fighting and all the crazy stuff within the city. Because usually when I have people come on that are trying to do stuff, they're doing stuff in the city, and if too many people are there, it starts to lag. So this was its own little atrium that you could go to, or I guess oasis is a better word, that you could go to just chill out and have fun if you aren't trying to build. Over there, nothing too, here, I can fly over there, I guess. Nothing too big. This was like a mushroom island at the very bottom of the map that I decided I would make into a, at first I tried to live here for a little bit because I was sick of mobs, but then I just made it into its own little watchtower. So if you ever go out venturing and you didn't know how close you were to the city or to civilization or anything, this would kind of serve as a little watchtower type thing, so you would know you were close to the city. But, yeah, with that being said, I think that's about it for the world. I do want to show off one more thing, and I'll do a little jump cut here. But I'm going to go down and take the railway. I mentioned that some of my other friends had made some islands. They didn't really, or their own little countries. They didn't do much with them, but I do have one friend who did quite a bit. And his name is Ty. And so his name is Ty, so he thought he was real clever calling it Thailand. So we're going to go on an adventure to Thailand. Okay, now that we have finally made it from that incredibly long journey, this here is Thailand. So to give you a little backstory, I kind of explained it earlier, but when I first started the world and I played on Xbox 360, it was obviously a pretty small area, and so all of my friends would have to congregate kind of near me, and I filled up most of what was the original map. And so my friends wanted to go out and start their own little areas within the world. And so my friend Ty, he thought he was very clever by taking the name Thailand. And so this is his own little country. So the way the rules kind of work, I'm technically illegal right now. When you would come over to a new country, you would drop all your stuff off at the old country. And normally, like here where someone would first come in, you would have like a little checkpoint, which is what this was kind of meant to be, where they just check you for everything. Make sure you didn't have contraband, and then you'd restart, basically like a new survival kind of thing, at the new country with all new stuff. And so, we had some fun with it. I think this is probably the best part of the country, or at least my favorite part. When we moved here, my friend Ty is a huge fan of Star Wars. He is in deep with the prequel memes. And so, he wanted to make something Star Wars related. At first, he wanted to make the Millennium Falcon, or a, Death Star or something crazy like that above that mountain up there, and I'm like, what if we chill that out and just made a a Jedi temple? So this is basically a replica of the Jedi temple on Coruscant. Actually, here, I'll give you a little flyby look at it. This is meant to emulate the Jedi temple on Coruscant. Obviously, it doesn't have all of the like spires and things that are at the top of it in the actual Star Wars universe, just because we're not that fancy. Much like everything else in this world, it is hollow, so I don't want to go inside because it's filled with mobs. But this was one of the cooler things because, mind you, we had come to a new island. And so, yeah, we were not an island, but like this new little area. And so we didn't have a lot. So this took a very long time to make. And we're very proud of it. So, yeah. Over here, we have sort of like the core of the civilization that we had built. Not many people came over, so we only have a handful of houses. Here is technically my house, because I have an embassy over there that I'll show you in a moment. But he told me I had to have my own house, and so I built this little tiny thing out of the resources that I just had left over, and called it a day. Up there is his house. He wanted to live in the side of the mountain, and so I said, you know what, go for it. It is your country. So, he built up here. I'll show off his house a little bit. Nothing too crazy. Got his bed, which he also used to have his bed over this way. I'm not sure why he moved it. I guess he wanted to put some chests and stuff. Got a nice old view. Over there you can see my embassy. Yeah, his is sprawled out in very weird ways. Somewhere over here, oh, you can see right here. Here's the cave with his nether portal. That, we connected those through the nether, which I guess I didn't show that before. There's nothing too crazy. The nether, if you remember in the old versions of Minecraft, you used to be able to reset them. So I used to not really have much of anything, but since moving it up to here with one nether, I made this little tunnel. This just links up to my nether portal over here. There's absolutely nothing about it that's fancy whatsoever. I just have this linking them up. That's all there is to it. I don't even have like a nether hub. It's just a walkway. So, yeah, nothing too big. We just have that. Going back here though, these are mainly like the only houses that we actually have. And then, as you saw in my city, I absolutely love making towers. So on each country, you would be able to have one building that represented your city, which is your embassy. And so obviously I made a tower. And so this thing is just huge. It's one of the bigger ones. If it were in the actual city, it would be bigger than most of them. It has just a bunch of floors to it. I also have, for some reason, the only farm, because I made a farm over here, because like I said before, I love making farms, and then my friends would just come over here to steal my food anyway. So basically I was like the little hub for their world. I had a couple of chests in here, although they ransacked quite a bit of it when I moved back to my city. I have my own little enchanting area. For a time there, we had a couple of friends that my friend Ty did not want coming in to his little country, so we decided, since my embassy is my own country, they could still come over here, and they basically just lived in my basement for a while. So, yeah, that was fun. That caused a couple of little wars, and yeah, just a nice little basement, nothing too crazy. So I figure to end this world tour, we may as well head to the end. I'll catch you guys in a minute. Alright, so we're back now, and before we even go to the end, I figured I'd show you this. I kind of alluded to it a few times. There's a few different things within here, but I told you about I had that other mansion over there. Well, I have another one that I built here that is right in the heart of the city, right outside. We had plans to add some more mansions kind of over here. Like, before we did WCPM mansion, we had thought every member would be able to build their own mansion, but then, I don't know, I guess I was the only one who ever actually did it. So, let's go inside. So when you come on in, it's not that well decorated. Honestly, it's just the first floor. Like, I mean, this is a common theme now. I don't decorate terribly well. So I have a bunch of chests. Really, I only filled this one up from when I was clearing the whole area out. And when I first found this spot, it was, I mean, this entire area was nothing. It was just a bunch of patches of kind of like swampy area. So where I am right now was just straight up water. This entire area was water. And maybe about starting kind of where that fireplace is, there was a bit of an island. And so this right here was just kind of water. And when I first found the end portal, I was like, well, that's kind of weird. And so if you head on down here, I basically dug straight down. I broke the first rule of Minecraft. This right here is a little room that I never actually really cared about. I built it with the intention of putting some stuff here. I put a little bit, but I never really cared about it, and I've just kind of ignored it ever since. But upon going down there, you can sort of see the stronghold where I found the end portal. But I also found, and this was the XP farm that I was telling you about, that I first found access to. But I didn't really have I didn't have the house up above it or any civilization. So honestly, I just built this out here to get easy access. This is where my first ever XP farm was. So I'll head upstairs. This was part of a cave system, but I kind of like wrangled it around. So actually, let me turn the light on first. So if you turn on the light on, you can see I have a spawner right there. If you look really close, you can see that it's a skeleton spawner. Oddly enough, when I started the world, like, oh, you can see one spawn too. When it was on the 360, it was actually a zombie spawner, which I just find it's very weird that it switched to this. Just right next to where that dirt was, you can kind of see the cobblestone. Initially, it had a little path where this was a few blocks higher. They would swim up, go all the way around, and they would fall down into this little contraption that I had. And if I wanted to make it just a grinder, they would fall into the hopper, and their items would despawn. Or not despawn, they would fall down. But since then, actually I'm just going to shut the light off and close that. Since then, it turned into this, and the way they work changed. And so you can see the little hole down there, where they now fall into there, and they fall even farther. So I kind of had to rebuild. I didn't really rebuild. I kind of just had to move this. So this is a little obsolete at this point. But now if you head on down here, there'll probably be some down there for me to kill. you head on down here, and you have a couple little skelly bellies, and you can just punch them. They're one punch, and they'll give you some XP. And that's how I got to the absurdly high level that you see right now. But yeah, so I found that by accident, because like I said, there's a cave system up there. So I found that one by accident when I was trying to look for this bad boy. Now, I probably ought to do something with all this stuff I have here. I just know the route. You head straight in and you hang a left. And down here we have the glorious end portal. Obviously, I've changed it up a little bit. I got rid of the wow, what are they called? Silverfish, sorry. The silverfish spawner. I got rid of that because it was just bugging me too much. And I kind of like let the lava flow down instead of being in little pools. I built this little thing because just like the nether, you used to be able to, at first you didn't be able to, but then they made it to where you could reset the end. And before that ever happened, I mean, I'll kind of just jump in. Before that ever happened, I filled the entire end with water. And then I built a little ender, and then they made it to where you could reset it, and that was the only way to get elytra. And so I had to reset the whole thing. And so there isn't much here yet. I have plans to build something. I would like to build an ender. I just haven't done that yet. Obviously, you can see I've defeated him a few times, and I have a few of the little end islands. I think 1 or 2 of them has a city. But they're infinite now, so you can get basically anything you want. But yeah, with that being said, I don't think there's anything else that I missed out. This should be pretty encompassing. I missed a couple of the other countries that we have just because there's almost nothing there. I can get that in a different video sometime. But yeah, let me know down below if there's anything that you think you would like for me to see. Like I said, I've mentioned it a few times. I really don't know if you want to see it. I have about 50 towers, I think, and I didn't go through them here. If you'd like to see a whole nother video with that, I can do that because, like I said, each of them has its own little story. Each of them took quite a while to build, and yeah, there's a rich history behind them. So if you want to see that, please let me know down below. If there's any other projects or anything you'd like to see me put in this world, I'd love to know it down below because, you know, when you get to this point, you start to kind of run out of ideas. But with that being said, I really hope you guys enjoyed that. And if you really liked it, I would love it if you would stick around and hit me with a subscribe. But yeah, with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. Tschüss, Kinder.